Okay, you want on pause?
Do it. No, we're good.
You're good? Okay.
We're ready to go.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. This is Grant Cameron, and I have a very special guest. He's been a friend of mine for a while, but he's been a very important friend, Dr. Bob McGwier. And he's joined today by his partner, Lala Bright. And I am so excited because for many years we've sort of dabbled with the orb situation, and there's been a lot of controversy about it, and a lot of photographs have been taken. I would say easily over 1 million photographs that I could access from people. And we're always looking for someone to come along to sort of give this some credibility. There was a book written a number of years ago, but the one professor who did it sort of, I guess, got a lot of static and sort of left. And the other guy was a head of a university, and he sort of left. And that sort of just fell apart. And they did a lot of important research back about 20 years ago. And then Bob McGwier retired. And I'll let him introduce himself, and Lala can introduce herself. But the one thing I always knew about Bob McGwier, when I first heard his name, I heard the Institute for Defense Analysis. And as soon as I heard that, I said, wow, I got to meet this guy, because I had done a book back in 1990 about Dr. Eric Walker, who was the chairman of the board of the Institute for Defense Analysis. So I knew what this place was, and I knew how powerful it was, and how top secret it was, and how only the best of the best go to this place. So when I heard that Bob McGwier had been there and worked there, I figured that this is the guy ufology needs. And Bob has now gotten into Orbs with Lala, and they've gone, as you'll see, Bob will explain this. There's sort of a pattern. It sort of emerges from simple orbs to colored orbs to mist to beams, and then complicated beams. And Lala and Bob have gone from the bottom of the scale right to the top, almost in months, maybe even weeks. So Bob wanted to do a presentation, and so this is sort of like, we call this orbology, the study of orbs. And Bob was a an adjunct professor, and so this may be like our first lesson in Orbology 101 here, the first class. And so I'll let Bob take over now, and he can do an introduction of himself and the companies he owns, and the background he has. And Lala will describe, we'll talk about Lala's background in being intuitive and all this kind of stuff. And we'll then go ahead with what Bob wanted to present, because he had something very important he wanted to present. And I've seen a little bit of the stuff that he's got, and this is groundbreaking material. So go ahead, Bob.
Okay, so my introduction to orbs, I think, was the same as yours, Grant. I had never seen one that I recalled in my life
Yeah.
until I visited Chris Bledsoe. And then he and I went out in his yard, and I saw two 40-foot orbs fly right over our head. And I saw the purple mist, and I saw flash bulbs. And that's all stuff we're seeing now, like daily. Okay, so I left there, went home, had a hitchhiker. The hitchhiker affected some miraculous cures and other things, and I just was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to make of it. So I knew that if I came out too strongly, that it would affect my intelligence assistance career. So I played it down, played it quiet. I helped Chris prepare photographs, videos, other things for presentations he wanted to make, because he said he had been given a mission to tell the world about this and to wake them up. And I now think that his inviting me to come to his home at the insistence of Jim Simivan was in support of furthering that mission, because as you're going to hear as we go on, Lala and I have gotten ourselves involved in a project that will be the ultimate proof in what I think in what Chris said was supposed to happen and how things were supposed to go. Okay, so that's enough about my history. But I got a PhD in applied math from Brown. I worked at the Institute for Defense Analysis for 27 years. I knew big names that everybody who's listening to this will know. I knew Bobby Ray Inman. I worked for him. I knew when he left the CIA. After he had been director at NSA, he went to CIA, and then he went to MCC in Austin. And friends of mine went to work at MCC at Austin, and it was the microcomputer consortium for many U.S. companies came together, and they were working on implementing new technology in microchips. And people that I knew told me it was more classified, more stratified, more compartmented than any place they had ever been in their lives. The worst compartmentation they had ever seen in their life.
Oh.
And I was always suspicious about why would they need to do this if all they're working on is computer chips. And as time has gone on and I've heard more stories, I now believe, without having solid proof in my hands, but I believe it strongly, that what was going on there is they were reverse engineering stuff that they had gathered and trying to get them into the microchips that would serve the United States of America. And I knew Inman cared about that because he started the chip foundry at NSA. So I knew he cared about, when he was director, he started the chip foundry. So I knew he cared about this. And I said, these people are trying to take this alien technology and gain ground on our adversaries. Okay, so, all right, that's enough about me and my background. I left there, I went to Virginia Tech, I helped start a research institute, and I left from there and went to visit Chris Bledsoe. Okay, so I get to the end, I decide that COVID is going to keep me out of being able to do anything I like to do for a year and a half. So I had started two companies, Hawkeye 360 and Federated Wireless. So I retired. And Hawkeye 360 is interesting. It's now the first commercial entity ever to have its spacecraft included in the National Reconnaissance Office constellation. It's the first commercial company ever.
Wow.
So Grant, the ideas occurred in the download. I was sitting in a meeting dealing with some spacecraft stuff, and all of a sudden, I got this sudden spark of inspiration in my head. And it had nothing to do with the contract. So it wasn't like I was thinking about the problem. It just all of a sudden dawned on me how to do a particular problem. And people tried everything they could to stop me because they said, you can't do this with these small spacecraft. But I knew I had a mathematical idea that would allow things to be done with small spacecraft that were being done by billion-dollar spacecraft now. Okay, so
let me just ask a question about that, because I wrote a book on the download process. Would you agree that it comes with absolute certainty?
It came with absolute certainty that I was right. I had no idea at all about it being wrong. But like many others who have described their downloads, I knew that I did not know enough to implement it.
Yeah.
So like almost all my other downloads, I took the ideas and I put together a team at Hawkeye to implement it.
Wow.
And so that's how it's always worked for me. I don't understand where this stuff comes from. I don't often understand everything I need to know to do it myself. So I build teams that help me take these goofy ideas and turn them into reality. Beautiful. And I am opposed at the beginning of almost every one of these things. And that's been that way my whole life. All right, so Beautiful. Let's get to retirement. I retire. I go to Alabama. I'm hiding in my home. And I don't see much of anything except I see orbs flying in my front yard and craft flying underneath the trees in my backyard. And my mother begins to fail this last spring. And Lala and I were Facebook friends. We hadn't had much interaction, but she saw that my mother was dying. She had seen me on Spaced Out Radio. She knew I was a scientist, but she knew I had an open mind. And she was going to describe why she does what she does, but she offered to do a reading of my mother when she passed. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe she won't. Sure enough, she passed. Wow. So that was my first indication that she can tell something about what's going to happen. So my mother passed, and that was really, it was a tough time. I love my mother a lot. It's a very tough time. I still get emotional about it, she can tell you. And I have a tough time talking about it for long without crying, so I'm going to stop and just say what she did.
Yeah.
She said she would do a reading of my mother, and she did. And so she takes pictures of the deceased and looks at the pictures, and you can see her make a connection. She always looks up and to the right. Her face goes quiet and her speech gets steady. And she just begins telling you things that you can tell are something like a channeling or whatever. I'm going to let her describe it. I'm just going to tell you what I observed. But Grant, I was blown away. Blown away. She told me 5 things that only my mother and I knew. She told me 5 things that my mother knew that I didn't know, but she knew I could find out by inquiring amongst my relatives. And so I was given ironclad proof that this was my mother. There's absolutely no doubt. It was my mother that was talking to Lala. Okay. So then she says, oh, wait a minute, there's this little short brown-headed woman. She's coming, she's kind of pushy and bossy. And I keep hearing this word. And she said, I don't know what it means. And she said, the word is Tweety. What does that mean? And I almost fell out of my chair. My grandmother always called me Sweetie, and I couldn't say it, so I called her Tweety. I mean, these kind of things, they change your life.
Yeah.
You undergo this like unbelievable transformation inside when this stuff happens to you. You go from skeptical to, if I've been presented and I've considered every possible explanation, like Arthur Conan Doyle and Sherlock Holmes, I'm left with only one conclusion, and this is real, then I have to change the way I view the world and reality. And so that began Lala and my path together. Sharon and I were very unhappy. We wound up divorcing. Lala and I had been working together, so I had meetings with her, and we decided that we were compatible. We wanted to work on this stuff together, and that's how the two of us met. And now she should tell her story if you don't have any questions.
No, beautiful. Go ahead, Lala.
Like he said, I'm a psychic medium, but I'm super shy, so I would give free readings to people online on Facebook. And usually what happens is the deceased will pop a photo of them on Facebook, and I won't know these people. And it's pretty much telling me to go to them. And when I saw him on the show, everything in me was saying I have to talk to him about something. And usually I don't even know what it's about until I get there and we figure it out. But it kind of all fell into place magically, I guess.
It's pretty magical.
Yeah.
Neither of us were prepared for this.
Yeah.
It's just we've kind of been blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we started seeing UFOs wherever we go. During our driving, they'd be over us.
We're going to show you a picture later in the show of a triangular UFO that followed us down the highway not far from here. And then it followed us. And I looked at it through the sunroof of her car as it followed us down the road. And I have a photo of it.
Wow. So when things are right, they click and it just takes off. It just,
yeah. The more we do, I think the orbs are getting excited too, and the more they'll come towards us.
Yeah. You should see how energetic they are in these videos. They are like, if I could describe their actions, they're laughing and jolly. Wow. And that feels like that, but their motion is frenetic. And you're going to see it which is why we do videos where most other people do still pictures.
Yeah.
Because it's this frenetic stuff. Yeah. And I believe the zigzagging, and we'll go over this again later. I believe the zigzagging these orbs are doing and the stuff we see in the sky is light language, and it's up to us to interpret it.
Beautiful. Well, why do you think, you mentioned before that it'd been sort of hidden? Like, why do you think this has really sort of stumbled along for so many years where it hasn't gotten any credibility whatsoever?
Because the CIA did a fantastic job of making everybody that wanted to talk about it look like a fool.
Yeah.
It was a psyop, and it was brilliantly executed. Now, I have not seen any document. I've seen no document that says this is what we're doing. But everything about this, from Condon to all many others, McDonald and Donald Menzel and all of that stuff says to me, and what's his name for Aviation Week?
Oh, it's
Phil
class. Yeah.
Phil Class. All of that stuff says to me this was an operation and it succeeded.
Yeah, and you were in the government for so many years, you would know how the government operates. I mean,
Oh, I do.
you're not on the outside.
And
Yeah.
I know about psyops and warfare because I've seen it done.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Lala.
I was gonna say we started talking to them and asking them if they could show up closer or slow down in front of the camera so we could get detail. And they would listen. It would take a few nights, but they
Wow.
would listen. It's really
Wow.
interesting.
This is when I became absolutely convinced that if we could summon, if anyone can summon them with Jimmy Blanche's radio,
Yeah.
that if we do the right thing with computer running machine learning language program, we can look at the patterns of light on the sky and figure out how to translate it.
Okay.
So that I've told you the entire scientific endeavor that Lala and Jimmy Blanchett and I are going to attempt. And we know that people with elevated frequency and high energy, they don't need this. But what Chris Bledsoe's job was to do was to convince the world this was real. And so I got brought into Chris. I met her. There are other things that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, which I may talk about in the future, but they just, one crazy thing happens after another to line stuff up for us to have this translational impact.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till I'm free to talk about the other things that are going on, but I'm not around.
Wow.
The thing I would encourage Lala to do is, so that people know her a little better, is tell her lifelong history to at least a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, because usually there's a story that goes back. It doesn't just start, when you're 20 years old or 30 years old. There's usually a pattern that has evolved.
I've always been the weirdo, I guess. I could kind of talk to beings and spirits, and my dad could too.
Oh.
And he did Reiki. He called it healing of the hands.
Okay.
So he would try to guide me, and I would always kind of say, okay, Dad, whatever, you know what I mean? But the older I got, the more it was just thrown in my face. I couldn't deny anything. And it's always led me to where I need to be at the time. It's really interesting, or who I need to be around at the time.
But I would love for you to tell one story, and that's Grandma.
Okay, so I had a neighbor that I called Grandma. She passed away when I was 6.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really read that well at that time. And my parents went to the gravesite to find out where she was buried. And they were off looking, and I kept walking around, and I heard her say in my ear, "I'm over here, Laura." And I walked right up to it, put my hand on it, and I told my parents, and they just freaked out. But that's what happens. It's just, it kind of happens. It leads me where I need to go. And it's normal for me.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think it was an orb that inspired me to buy these little cameras. But I kept buying them. Then I bought better ones. Then I bought bigger ones. Then I bought faster ones. And but right now we're getting so much stuff on these inexpensive security cameras. And we're getting actual videos of things moving around where other people normally do still shots. That it's taken us a little while to decide to move away from the infrared stuff so we can see things at night, to the color camera thing. But I have a very, very fancy astronomical color camera that has super high resolution, super sensitivity, and is sensitive into the infrared. Oops, sorry. And what I'm going to do is put that out and use the announcements from the security cameras to know where to look on the videotape that's coming into the fancy cameras. I still want to concentrate on videos. And I'm pretty sure it's going to work the first time I try it because, oh, wait a minute. The first time I tried it, Lala was pointing at the sky with a green laser.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, this colored orbs shot through the sky in front of this camera.
Wow.
And so I know we're not going to have any trouble with visible light stuff, because this was during the day.
Yeah.
It was at dusk. It was still light. So the green laser was showing. She would say something's there, and the camera was pointed there, and boom, this orb zigzags through the picture. So we're not going to have any trouble. And of course I'm like, wow, I'm wondering if I can ever do anything like our friend in Chicago.
Oh yeah, Jeff.
And now she has beams and curved beams and beams with wings in them. And I have colored orbs on a digital camera. And there have been complaints that our videos are too short. But let me explain, Grant. It's like they know what our capabilities are.
Yeah. So
they show up, they trigger the capture, and then they're gone before that segment's over. So it's always the phenomenon is present at the beginning. So that's when it's triggered. And the 10-second timeout happens, and they're gone long before the 10 seconds.
Well, there's one orb. He's the brightest, and he's here every single night, all night long. And he actually helps. I think he helps. He'll shoot and he'll fly to where I need to look in the video, and I'll zoom in on that part, and there's something there.
Okay, so let me explain to you why we call it Fraggle Rock, just for the heck of it. Okay, so Fraggle Rock flies, and that triggers the camera. So where Fraggle Rock flies and triggers the camera, we'll see a flash or a boom or whatever, or something zoom across that wouldn't trigger the camera because it's too dim.
Okay.
It's like the orbs are triggering the camera, and we capture these things, and you are going to see that today in a video we're going to show, in the processing of the video, where you will see a clear craft that was popped into the sky in the middle of that video. And we sent it to Linda Thompson and others for forensic analysis, and she says, this is not an artifact. And I will let her characterize it, but my sense of what she thought it was is it's a real craft. She had an idea of the size and other things. She had used the height of the clouds and other things to figure out how far away it was and some other stuff. So she has done forensic analysis, and I'm letting your audience know that I have freed Linda to say whatever she wants to say about that video and the capture. And she's as objective as anybody I've ever met. I'm exerting no influence. She can show that stuff anywhere she wants to.
Wow. And you called it a he. Why did you reference a he?
I just always feel like it's male energy.
Okay.
And we actually saw him outside with our own eyes at night, and he's more solid and brighter than a regular orb. And bigger. It's intra. He flew over our heads. And
we've seen it inside the house. That's number one. And so Deb's Shakti did our regression. Of 2 days back to back. And while during my regression, one of the cameras, which is turned off during the day, triggered. It triggered even though it's turned off, and it swiveled to follow this thing that looked like the alien in Predator.
It's kind of see-through.
Like I was see-through and distorted. Yeah. It looked like the alien in Predator walking across our deck.
Wow. And it moved the camera
with it. But the camera should not have triggered. It's on a schedule. It's only scheduled to do stuff at night, and it triggered during the day and moved. And that was in the middle of my regression, right in the middle of it.
It's almost like they're leaving
what it was, and I knew the timing on the camera.
Yeah. It's almost like they leave the little puzzle pieces, and it's like a little game. Or even
it's hilarious. And so pretty soon you go, hey, we're seeing this stuff every day. And it's not that it's not exciting, and it's not that it's humdrum, but you get accustomed to it because it never stops here, Grant. It never stops. It's all day and all night long. And we've had one massive orb go over the houses back. And I thought, well, that's got to be an airplane, except it wasn't blinking. And then I zoomed in with the video because it was pretty far away, and I could see the illumination of the trees behind it.
Wow.
Okay. And then I saw a limb in front of it. So it flew inside the envelope of a tree, illuminating most of it, but behind one of the limbs. That thing wanted me to have ironclad proof of its size,
Yeah.
and so that I could calculate
Yeah.
immediately how big it was and how fast it was moving.
Wow.
It was amazing, Grant.
Wow.
So Debs did both of our regression, and let me just give you the quick version of it because it's very long. There's hours. She does
Wow.
things for hours. So the gist of it is Lala has a mission, and I was put here to help her. That's the entire gist of it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And it just feels that way. She is the superstar, and I'm the technician to help her.
Okay.
She is. I'm telling you, none of this would happen if it weren't for her. The orb was drawn to her, which is why I bought the camera. So most of what I've done is set the cameras up and make sure we capture stuff. She's done all of the capture analysis.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping while she does all the work. So it's quite the partnership and totally unexpected. And Grant, we've gone from not knowing each other's names to building a life together.
Yeah.
In a different state, different place, different everything in 8 months.
Yeah.
It seems like it was meant. Like we were guided and it was meant. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Because we feel familiar with each other, like we've known each other forever.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, and it's almost like maybe Lala is like sometimes they describe like the bright light that they can pick up the people that are at that vibration, and they're the people that are brought in, or almost like, I don't know if you saw the interview that Bob Bigelow did where they said what was Skinwalker all about, and he said it was all about no, what did he the word, not symbols,
Icons?
no. I'll have to. I'll think about it. But he basically was saying that they would set up the little games, and they would play the little game, and then they would advance it. It was never the same thing all the time, and that this was all sort of to him was a thing about education, about teaching us things.
Oh, I believe that. So one of her first readings for me, I was all about, oh, she's going to help me figure out how to propel the craft. I'm going to figure out the physics. I'm going to get famous.
Yeah.
And so in the first reading, she was, you need to worry about sacred geometry. I don't think she even knew what sacred geometry was. It was what they were telling her.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they said, you're never going to get anywhere if you don't give up your ego. And I didn't know what that meant. I thought they meant I had to be humble and not out. No.
Yeah.
What they meant was, it's now crystal clear. I am not her superior in any way. We are like partners and friends, and we're doing stuff together. And I had to give up my ego-driven, I'm superior in any way, shape, and form to her because I'm a scientist and she's not a scientist. You know, the message to me was clear, and I hope I'm stating it clearly enough. Yes. I'm not her superior. I'm not her boss. We are friends, and we live together, and we care for each other, and we are partners in all of this. And I think she is going to be the source of everything we learn. And I may not ever get the answers I was after, and now that's no longer important.
Yeah. I got the same message, actually, the ego thing, to the point that I got terribly upset. They kept hammering me about it. And what they added to me was the idea that you think you understand what's going on. You haven't got a clue.
Right.
And this idea that we sort of figure we got all figured out in science. And then someone like Lala comes along, and then you go like, if that's real, something's wrong here. And you realize that you really don't know very much of anything when you come up against paranormal.
You hear Hal Puthoff and other people talking about warp bubbles. They've got it totally wrong, Grant.
Yeah.
They've got it completely wrong. And so inside, and as I keep saying, weird things keep happening. In our orbology group, somebody put up this book called The Orb Project.
Yeah.
And not the authors, But the person who wrote the preface wrote the most important 7 pages I've ever read in my life.
Wow.
And so everybody, remember Ben Rich said, hey, Einstein got it wrong and we had to make a little change.
Yeah.
And everybody, put off everybody, thinks what they mean is Einstein made a mistake in the curvature equations.
Mhm.
That's not where the mistake is.
Mhm.
What is the most famous equation in all of physics?
E equals mc squared.
And it's an additive term to E equals mc squared that adds entropy, and that is entropy as in thermodynamics and entropy as in information, and that's how consciousness binds to the rest of our physics. That's in the first 7 pages of that book.
Wow.
That book is the most important thing I've ever read in my life.
Wow. Wow. Fantastic. I just thought of the word that Bigelow had used, messaging. He said it was
Yes.
all about messaging. The whole thing was all about messaging.
Well, that's the message Chris Bledsoe got. But
Yeah.
his job was messaging.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what he wanted to call the movie or the book or the movie that they kept fighting him on getting the end and putting the reptilians in and all that kind of stuff. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, she's been abducted and she's had all those experiences. And chipped. She's got implant. I can take an EF meter, an RF field meter, and put it over her body. She says, "Oh, my head hurts." I'll put it up to her head, and she's putting out 200 milliwatts of RF power. Humans do not emit, Grant.
I would have never known I was chipped. The only reason I found out is because when I would go on a plane, I'd always set off the detector. And finally, after a while, I'm like, can I see what you guys are looking at? And it's the size of a piece of rice in my femur.
Yeah.
And it's been there for 20 years now.
And it's pulsing like it's sending out a digital transmission.
Mhm.
But if you looked at a spectrum analyzer of Wi-Fi, you would see it go boop, boop, boop.
Wow.
The RF field meter, as I hold it up to her, goes boop, 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 like it was emanating packets of digital data.
Wow.
And I have no idea whether that's what it's doing or not, but we are not done with our investigation. I have all sorts of radio equipment, and I figure out what frequency it's tuned to and see if I can decode the digital transmissions.
You're the one we've been waiting for, Bob.
I hope so. I mean, I really don't have that much ego because I'm wandering around in the dark like everybody else. The thing I have is experience in lots of fields that are applicable.
Yeah.
I did not train for this, but who does, Grant? Who trains for this?
Yeah.
Nobody.
So let me give you a question before you share screen. And you mentioned Jim Semivan at the very beginning, and one of the controversial issues in ufology is the whole abduction thing. And he said, I didn't get permission for this, and I don't agree with this, and they violated my rights. So how would you answer that in terms of what you know now?
Oh yeah. Oh, so Grant, since I retired, I've been unable to pass my security clearance anywhere and get work.
Yeah.
They've blocked it everywhere. There is no reason to block it. Right before I retired, I had my full-blown polygraph.
Yeah.
And so, and background investigation. So they knew I'm a loyal US citizen. And they blocked me. I was denied multiple requests to transfer my clearance so that I could work on Havana syndrome.
Yeah.
And there was a major deal that was done, guess where? At the Institute for Defense Analysis. And they said, if anybody can help with this, it would be Bob. They called me on the phone before they checked.
Wow.
And they went, okay, we want to bring you because we know you're the guy.
Wow.
And they said, we're not going to be able to do it. And I knew what it meant. They could not pull my security clearance because it was blocked.
Wow.
And I'm hoping that ultimately the NDAA provides me with relief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is not right. I have not violated the law. Everything I've said is unclassified.
Yeah.
But they're pissed. I'm telling you, they are.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's share a screen because I want to show off her work.
There you go.
Let her tell you about it.
There you go.
Okay.
Do I move on?
you've disabled participants. I'm sorry.
Can we move over?
No, you're good.
Oh, I got to give you permission. Hang on here.
You got to give me permission. Yeah.
Okay, can you do it now?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, here we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a video, and you'll see kind of what started us off. Okay. Let me do this. This is a video of our bedroom. You saw that, right?
No, you still got the, I just still see the, just the thumbnails.
Okay. Okay. Let me see how to do this. I'm doing it wrong. So let me stop share. Okay. So hang on just 1 second, Grant. I'm going to do.
You must have a Mac.
I don't. This is a PC.
No? Oh, okay. Because usually
I'm going to
Macs,
shut
they have.
down everything except what I want and just go from there. So that there's only one thing it could possibly pull up. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I'll do. I'm going to have to share each individual thing as I bring it up because that's the way it's going to work. Here we go.
Okay.
Now you should see the video.
There, now you got a full screen. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
No kidding.
Wow.
Hey, that's a dust particle, Grant. That's a
No
dust
kidding. Yeah.
particle.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And so I mean stuff like that happens and you go, what? Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty.
All right. So now let me share, let me pull up the other thing, which is this one was really awesome. So let me share this. Sorry, we're having to do this one at a time, but at least it works.
No problem.
And that's right in front of her face. And look at it. It's got structure to it.
Holy cow.
This is in our house a lot. We kept the dog downstairs for a little while. That didn't work. But anyway, that thing was with the dog a lot. And then it's with us a lot. And now at times she and I both can see it going through the room with our naked eye.
Does the dog sense it?
This is not done. Oh Lord, yes. We're sitting there and we're both of us are going, what is the dog looking at? So then we got, you know, this little stick figure camera that these ghost hunters use.
Yeah.
It is so fun because we have seen her former boyfriend in our place. And we know it's him because he hangs out over by his picture, which is over on the dresser. He's deceased.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's just amazing. And then we see this thing.
And the light, what is that light goes off when a spirit's near it? It goes to the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have the EMF meters, the thing that flickers, the meter and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It'll do it at the same time as the stick figures there. So we're using ghost hunting equipment, in addition to the other.
Makes it hard to sleep.
As you can tell, we got excited. We're willing to spend money. Okay, let me stop sharing this and go to the next thing. Okay. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let's do the beams. Okay, good. Now this I can thumb through and we won't have a problem. And here we go. Okay, so that is a curved beam of light with something coming down it.
Yeah.
And the thing I want you to know, this unless they are traveling, they can't be traveling so fast. This is multiple frames because this is a single frame.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just, this is a beam and something has wing-like things coming down it. And no, it can't be an insect because it's too cold for them to even fly. Yeah. Okay, so I just always keep saying that to head off any criticism.
Yeah, that's unique that you have that almost like the wings. That's the first time I've seen that on those beams. I've seen a lot of beams, but not with the things on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd never seen that before either.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a straight beam, or pretty straight, and that's right down in our front door.
Wow.
That's our foyer front door. Our steps to our front door are right there where it's landing.
And in the video, it didn't slowly become a beam. It just was
Boom!
a
All of a
beam.
sudden, it was there.
Yeah, and that was the thing that the first one that I had ever seen was Chris Bledsoe gave me from 2015. But now Marilyn, who's in the group, says she's got some earlier, but I haven't seen those yet. But there again, we go back to Chris Bledsoe. That's the first time I ever saw a beam, and I was blown away when I first saw his beam. And now they're appearing. Everybody's starting to get them.
Well, Lala is friends with Chris, and I'm friends with Chris, and I just think this is related in some way to the entities that are talking to him, because we keep seeing these same kind of things.
Yeah, well, it's all connected. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to show is we had one of these orbs go through the sky, the one we call Fraggle Rock, and it painted a piece on the sky. And as it painted a piece on the sky, we saw a flash.
Yeah.
So she concentrated on the flash and saw this.
Wow.
Okay, so Linda Thompson has done all sorts of fancy analysis, principal component analysis, the analysis of motion in the video, and so forth. And this is a craft.
Okay.
I made it later.
Oh, yeah. But here's the triangle that followed us down the road.
Wow. Did Bob, Jimmy Blanchette do any calculations on because he does that whole thing of the sizes of the sides of the triangle and how they fit in. Did he measure that?
I don't think he has, because I don't believe, given that we were going down the road and I'm going click, that I could tell him the aspect ratio. Okay. What angle am I looking at the craft from? Okay. I don't believe I could tell him that.
Yeah. Okay.
It was pretty close to straight up, but not quite. And so I just can't, I don't think I can tell him enough for him to give us a meaningful calculation, but I'm happy to show it to him. I mean, Jimmy, oh, he's one of my heroes.
Yeah. He's on the leading edge too.
Okay. So here's the craft again. Now, the thing that's different from before is this was 2 weeks later. And if you look at it carefully, you see it is the same craft 2 weeks later, but it's rotated 90 degrees. Yeah. And Linda agrees with that analysis, that we're seeing the same thing, but rotated 90 degrees from before.
And it gives off a flash. Is that how you detect it?
Yes. And here is the big orb in our backyard between us and the house across the yard. Wow. Look at the size of that thing.
It looks like something out of Ghostbusters.
I'm telling you, it's big and huge, and it's 150 feet across to the other house.
Wow.
We live in a community, and that is halfway between our houses.
Wow. Oh, that's and some people would say there's even faces. There's a face there, the eyes and the mouth.
Yeah, it looks like a face. I mean, you can see two eyes. If I would say anything, I would say it looks like a rhesus monkey.
Yeah. You're right. Now you look at it,
or maybe Bigfoot. I don't know, but I see a face in it, and I don't know if it's pareidolia or not. But I'm with you. I see a face in that.
Yeah.
And you know, when we did the processing of Chris Bledsoe's photographs, and in order to prepare his presentation for UFOCon 2020, I looked at pictures of hundreds of orbs. I saw dogs, cats, gray aliens, people, things I couldn't recognize but knew they were living entities. Mm-hmm. I saw all that stuff in his orbs. His orbs are amazing.
But the one thing that is for sure, like on this one, that again, it's almost like if you remember John Alexander talking about people asking, what do you think it is? And he kept saying, well, the thing is morphing. I mean, how do you tell? Because that was happening at Skinwalker Ranch. It never did the same thing twice. And again, you had that beam, the curved beam, with the things coming off the side, and now you have this orb, but it doesn't have clear edges. So it's like a unique thing that I really hadn't seen before. Okay, so almost like just throwing a new thing out, a new type of orb out.
But she exhibits, your book Contact Modalities.
Yeah,
she exhibits kind of every contact modality I can think of.
Yeah.
And so I just think every kind of entity wants to show off to her because she's beaconing. She had a reading one time. They called her a light portal.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah.
That's the one where it's morphing. I remember I said it popped out of the sky and moved around.
Oh, I don't know whether I easily have that.
It was what you were just talking about, how it does more right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I may not have that.
But sometimes I find crafts in those things.
Okay, well, we have a bunch of these videos.
It's okay.
Oh,
it's almost like the crop circles, that they started off very simple and then they got more complex and weirder.
Yeah.
And everybody just kept going, wow, what's going to happen next? And it's like it's showing off, almost like one of the people, the Sky Pilot, was first woman, said they're like little children they're very easily entertained, and they like to play and have games and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a little small, but let me describe it. What you see in the video that this was taken from.
Okay.
You see a point of light appear on the sky like a flash.
Yeah.
And you see an elongated thing come out of what is clearly a portal, because it gets longer and longer and longer.
Okay.
And then stops growing, and then it moves across the sky, and slowly but surely it disappears back to a point, like it was going back through a door.
Okay.
We saw a portal open, a craft come out and leave by a portal.
Wow.
And
Wow.
this video is as clear as day.
Wow.
Okay,
Beautiful.
so anyway, let's stop sharing. Let me figure out what to show next. Oh, and just so you're aware, let me share this. I want others to be able to do this. Why not? Okay, so this is a Wands View security camera.
Okay.
This thing is $40. And it has Wi-Fi, has an app that controls it. It's 1080p. You pan tilt zoom so you can move around the sky. It's waterproof, weatherproof, two-way audio, motion detection, some cloud storage. This thing is $40 grand.
Yeah.
And talks to Alexa. I mean, you can display the video on your Alexa Echo. I mean, this thing is $40.
Yeah, you've talked about that a lot, how technology, the price has come down that enables us to do this kind of stuff that before would have cost, thousands or millions of dollars.
But it does not cost much to do this. And I think because I signed up to your theory of WOW a long time ago, and they want the two of us to tell a story.
Yeah, yeah.
They're making it easy for us to do it with these cheap cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, I just believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm telling you, these cameras are picking up this stuff, and we're having no trouble finding interesting things in these videos that forensic analysis says are real and not crap.
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to put up my $14,000 telescope and take a great picture. Okay. But I mean, you just don't need to. This is cheap and it works. All right. What else should we show? Some of these videos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The big orb by the tree that you were talking about.
Oh yeah, but I don't know which one is which. That's the issue. But let's just play them. We'll play them all.
Yeah, play them all. Yeah.
We'll just go through them one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share this. Hang on. Sorry, we're slow.
No.
Yeah, here we go. So I don't remember which one is which here, but we're just going to play them and see what happens.
Yeah, the full screen.
Yeah, he can see that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's full screen.
Oh yeah.
See all the orbs going everywhere.
Yeah.
And in the middle here, right around here, there's a flash. I think you might be able to see. But so this is what happens. We see these orbs, and we'll see a flash. And she goes, "Oh, there's a flash." She concentrates on the flash and finds a craft.
And the brightest one is always Fraggle.
Yeah,
Or Fraggle.
we call it our friend Fraggle. Okay,
Wow.
let me kill this one and bring up the next one. Okay. We'll just
And in that one, I think you had orbs going in different directions, which
no,
sort of eliminates the
It's
dust
not
theory.
wind.
I mean, if they're all going in different
Wind,
directions.
it's
Yeah.
not, no, it's none of that.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of being told it's bugs, especially when it's 20 degrees outside,
Yeah, exactly.
which won't work because they can't fly. They're dead.
Yeah.
Okay, you the idea. It's just aggravating at times, but you just got to put up with it because everybody's looking for an excuse to say no.
Yeah. To avoid the issue. Yeah.
Okay. So okay, look, this is a weird craft.
Yeah.
Oh, on the bottom left, that is the craft flying in front of the trees. And we're going to go back and let you see a flash. It's the first second. It's where things are interesting.
There it is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, see the thing, and then look at the flash.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, but see it illuminating the tree behind it?
Yeah.
You can just see it illuminating the tree behind it. Look, we're going to have this thing blown up any way we can so people can see it more easily.
Wow.
But it is going it's going in front of a tree, and it flies behind one limb.
Drones aren't allowed.
And drones are not allowed here because we're near Aberdeen Proving Grounds.
Oh, yeah.
Airplanes are not allowed here. There are constant NOTAMs here for both Aberdeen and NASA.
So you're in the perfect
testing their laser stuff here. So NOTAMs here are out. You cannot fly here.
So you're in the perfect spot.
Perfect spot. And I made a mistake when I got my Psionics camera, and I got the perfect Grant. Okay, this is good. Now I'm going to be able to just zoom through them one at a time by clicking. Okay, so I got the perfect video of a where'd it go? Oh, I don't understand why this is not letting me share. How do you share the whole screen? Why isn't this coming up? Okay, hang on just a minute, Grant. I got a little problem here. I don't understand.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stopped sharing. This should show, right? So I hit share screen.
Yeah. And you're still enabled.
Yeah, that's not it. It's that none of the icons are
Files?
Let's try files. Let's try that. Oh no, it's gonna want to do Google Drive. Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Let's do portion of screen. Okay, that's
okay. Well, there you go.
All right, so
I can see the icons.
Hang on one second. I'm gonna do this, do this, do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And now I'm gonna show the video. Can you see it?
I'm just seeing. No. Oh, yeah. Orb going from there's another one.
Yep, there's several here. This is not the brightest thing in the world, but these things are interesting.
So there was a flash in the beginning, and then the orbs.
Yeah, let me go back to the beginning so you can see the flash. The flash is in the first second.
Yeah, I think yeah. Wow.
And always these orbs point you in the right direction, and that's it for the rest of this clip.
Wow.
So I'm going to go.
There's one on the left there. Another one coming across the screen.
Yep. Or let me go to the next video. Okay. So this is a bunch of weird stuff going on down at the bottom left. And there was a big flash on the left. I'll play this over. These are short. So we just play it over till everybody gets it. No, there was one orb in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, let me start it over. And notice all the trees are illuminated. There's nothing back there. What's illuminated?
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
And see the flash?
Yeah.
Okay, just that one tree illuminates.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
In it, you will see a flash right below the illuminated tree. Now watch. Boom, there's the flash.
Yeah. Hello.
That's all trees, Grant. There's no way for it to be anything through it. That's below the roof line.
That's interesting. Yeah, if you get that sort of just that one part of the screen and blow it up, that'd be pretty amazing.
And then you saw the orb was just in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to the next one. Oh yeah, and this one is just look, and you could see him. You could see a figure in that one.
Oh.
Okay, let me go back and do that one over. Okay, watch the one in the middle. You see stuff in it,
Yeah.
and it's just full of these orbs, and they go every which direction. So it's not dust blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
It's just not. Okay. And then we get those that
Wow.
flash. That's what I'm telling you. And then the
Play
little
that,
guy.
rewind that. It looks like it leaves a trail. Oh, they're all both leaving trails.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to rewind this one.
Yeah, they're leaving trails, like
This is
dotted,
a very,
speckled
very good one.
trails.
This is a very good one. I love this one.
Yeah, it's like a speckled trail. It's still there. It's like for at least a second after it goes out of the screen. Look at the trail there. Yeah, you can see the trail.
What are we leaving out?
There's so many.
Just grab one in your head and talk about it. Anyone you can think of that I didn't cover.
Okay, so for the past week or two, we've been seeing, I guess, crafts. Maybe they're just super bright big orbs. I don't know, but from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., they go nuts. Multiple. The orbs go crazy. They multiply. These crafts go different directions altogether. I don't know what's going on. Honestly,
Wow.
I've been asking, but nobody's really said anything.
And she puts them up in these different Facebook groups and so forth and asks questions. Okay, so it's just one of these things.
Yeah.
Because I've always heard that 3 a.m. is like the special time that spirits come out or beings, but it's unusual.
Okay, let me play this again because I'm trying to see what this one was about. Oh, yes. Okay, so, all right. So here's what I want people to notice because it's a little difficult to see. So Fraggle goes down and up like it's a V. And it goes from left to right.
Yeah.
Just before that, you'll see a flash in the bottom right, and that is a craft. Okay, I'm going to play it over. I'll play it over until you see it clearly, Grant. If you can see it clearly, I think everybody will be okay. Here's Fraggle, bottom right.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
Let's do it one more time.
Yeah.
And right over here is where the flash is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Flash and then Fraggle Rock.
It's like they're working in concert with each other.
Yeah, I believe that Fraggle is needed to trigger the camera.
Yeah.
And the other thing is captured by the triggered camera.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Okay, one more.
And I asked him to slow down because I want to see detail of him. And he literally the next time, actually recently, he's been going so slow. It looks like he stops and then goes off. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, you're like the antenna. That's where Tyler D talked about that antenna effect that, we are antennas, the hair's antenna, the DNA is antenna, all this kind of stuff. And that you're like the antenna that is almost like picking them up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she just kind of, you can tell when they're coming because she sits up on the edge of the bed. And I go, why is she awake? There wasn't any noise. And so all of a sudden she's on her phone looking at all these alerts coming in on the cameras. And I know they're here and going cuckoo. So I just roll over and go back to sleep. And let her
Yeah. It's almost like I talked about Chris with that, where Chris, that story with John Alexander, where he said, they're here. And John said, how do you know? I just know. And then this thing appears in the sky. And it's this idea that Chris touched the craft. And once you've sort of touched the craft and he flew it, then you sort of become one with the craft. And so, the vibration. So when the vibration is around, you can pick it up. You can sense the vibration. And I think that may be somewhat of this that is all vibration. And it's, and if you're a sensitive, well, of course you're gonna pick up on this. And so Chris has the same thing where he knows when to go out. Or people, you'll hear these stories all the time where they get the idea, go outside. And they go, well, why? Like even the one guy who was watching a UFO movie, it was the last 10 minutes, and his wife said, well, you're gonna go skywatch. There's only 10 minutes left in the movie. What are you doing? It's like, where do you leave going? I go outside. And the thing goes flying by, and that's that. So to me, I just find it so absolutely intriguing that they're they're sort of dropping these breadcrumbs, and it's like the ultimate game to play to try to figure this thing out and to.
Well, we had one really interesting thing happen, and we kind of reluctant about showing much. We might show it to you. It's because people were kind of negative about it, but I do want to describe it.
Yeah.
She was wanting to go out to a park and try CE5.
Yeah.
So we went out to this park and tried CE5, and she's quiet. And I see her friend taking pictures of the sky, and I can tell that she's concentrating. And later on, we look, and in 7 pictures, 6 out of the 7 pictures, we see stars.
Mhm.
In the 7th of the pictures, we see this grid pattern across the sky.
Wow.
Okay, so she puts it up in a group, and people go, nah. But one person didn't go,
Mhm.
A person from Michigan sent us a stuff, and it was the same thing, except the 4 holes that looked like portals that were in this grid.
We'll show you.
We'll show you. And they were different, shades. And I'm going, well, this looks like these are entrances, and the other way is exits. And I says, I don't know which is which, but that's what it feels like. And in the bottom right corner of the one from Michigan, there is a little entity with a wand in its hand.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty cool.
It's as clear as day, Grant.
Wow.
We'll send it to you and let you see it.
Yeah, you get lots of experiments. One question I can ask related to that, you said Lala tried CE5. Were you at the Monroe Institute when they were doing all that kind of stuff? I don't know if you listened to um Chris's daughter Emily was went with Chris, to there. And I sent you the audio yesterday, you got to listen to this. She describes what happened to her at the Monroe Institute. Might be something to take Lala to the institute where they do what's that called? Where they take the brain waves and your brain has to try to get one signal and the other signal and try to put them together. And the story she described, what happened to her was just like the Twilight Zone. It was the most bizarre story I've ever heard in my life. But she would be a sensitive as well. That's what she's been told. And
so one of the stories that we don't tell much. Everybody's heard the story of Simi Van showing up for Emily in the middle of New York City by magic.
No, I don't know. You know that story. I don't know that one.
You don't know that story?
No, I don't know that story.
Oh, that story's phenomenal.
Wow.
So anyway, and none of us believes it. But anyway,
yeah.
Chris and I were talking on the phone. He said, "Oh, Emily's in New York," and she sent me this picture of this building, and it's one of these buildings that's wedge shaped because the streets come together. And
yeah.
Okay, so he sent me this picture of this wedge shaped building, and he says, "Take a look at this, Bob." He said, "This building's beautiful," and I immediately had my eyes drawn not to the building, but to the UFO in the sky right over Emily's head. We blew it up, and it looked like the U-shaped craft out of the movie Alien.
Wow.
And it was right over Emily's head in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
Now, Lala and I went to the inquiry into the anomalous and the phenomenon.
Uh-huh.
And the second weekend, we went to both of them so far. We went to the second weekend, and we leave Madison Square Garden / the Penn Station. And she snaps a picture of the Chrysler building.
Yeah.
And to the right of the Chrysler building is this V-shaped thing with lights on it. And I'm going, wait a minute. That's not a building. What? That's a V-shaped UFO with lights all over it. It looks like the Phoenix Lights.
Wow.
Right there in downtown Manhattan, and nobody noticed it but us.
Wow. Yeah,
I didn't mean to take the picture. I didn't even know it was there, honestly.
You want to talk about a magnet? This one is a magnet.
Yeah, it would be interesting with the hemisync to put her in one of those rooms where it goes for, I think, for 4 days or something, and they keep going up and up with these different types of hemisync. And then the last one, she just she saw the lady. She describes, that she encountered the lady. that Chris had encountered. It was just the wildest story. It was like, wow. So it would be interesting to see what would happen to Lala if she went through this whole hemisync thing for 4 days there, where just to see if it would open it up more. Because I guess that's what they do. Because I think they were involved, the Monroe Institute, in the remote viewing program with the CIA. They were training, so they've been doing this for like 50 years. I think they sort of understand a little bit about, how to force these experiences to, bring it in and get the sensitives to be even more sensitive. It's just,
Well, for you and anyone listening, Lala wants to go to Monroe Institute.
I wanted to
Really
go
bad.
too. If you
She
ever
wants
go,
to go
maybe I'll
really
go with
bad.
you, because that's one of the things I got on my list to do is to, whatever happens. Like, I'm sure maybe nothing's gonna happen with me, but I mean, just to go and see and be in these rooms and experience this, it's kind of interesting to see what would happen. That's what I was thinking with Lala. That'd be pretty interesting. I think she'd have a pretty intense experience, and maybe gather some stuff that we really don't know. Because I mean, the one that Emily described, she went on for like half an hour of what happened. She went here and then she went there, and then it was just unbelievable. And all her selves, her young self she encountered, and her teenage self she encountered, was just the unbelievable story.
Wow.
And she went with Chris, and then she was flying in the stars with Chris, holding his hand. And then as soon as she came back, Chris saw her and said, "We were in the stars flying together." I went, "Whoa, geez." It's just like, wow.
So let me say this one is a natural. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I'll tell this one story. I had her on the telephone and she was doing a reading for me. I won't say of who because I don't want to
Yeah.
get anybody triggered, but it
Yeah.
was of someone prominent.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I hear her say, she says, "Oh, I'm leaving the earth.
Wow.
Oh, I'm surrounded by the most gorgeous light you can imagine. And
Wow.
all I feel is this unbelievable, unconditional love." And
Yeah.
I knew she was in the presence of the universal
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And she leaves there and travels to Egypt and
Wow.
goes underneath and gets in trouble. They get mad at her.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this story. We don't tell this story
Yeah.
much because
Yeah.
it's like so crazy. We don't have any proof.
And something shoved me
Shoved her.
when I was doing that.
Wow.
And it scared the crap out of me. honestly.
Yeah. Wow. That's
And
wow.
later we figured out that, I mean, she has these things that are around her and she doesn't know what they are. And we described what they were to some people who might know. And they went, "Wait a minute, you saw a really tall hooded figure?"
Yeah.
And she went, "Yeah." And she says, "Don't you know that's Anunnaki?" And she went, "No." I mean, she just goes wandering around and takes off and flies through the universe while talking to me on the telephone and meets with Anunnaki.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ty-
this is a very, very,
yeah.
very special, powerful person.
Yeah, Tyler D and Semivan both saw the hooded figure. That's what I said when Tyler D told me the story. I said, "So can you see its face?" And he said, "No, I couldn't see its face." I said, "You should be regressed so you can
It's,
find out
it's
this."
Anunnaki. That's
Yeah.
what everybody that I've talked to about this that seems to be in the know thinks is you see these hooded figures show up. They are representatives of the Anunnaki here on Earth. That's what all these people claim.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. So, what's your plans for the future? You mentioned a little bit about it. So, you're bringing in cameras, and you're going to.
Yep. So let me explain to you. So Jimmy Blanchett
Yeah.
transmits signals to the sky and gets a response.
Yeah.
So I believe that she can say, "Please do this," when you respond to Jimmy. And I can put into a computer what they do when she says, "Please do this."
Yeah.
And that will train the computer. When you see this, here's what they mean. So it's a step-by-step, slow
I see.
process
Yeah.
of building up a Rosetta Stone, where a translator, where she is the Rosetta Stone, and Jimmy and I are sitting on both sides of the Rosetta Stone trying to figure out how to interpret it. He excites the writing on the Rosetta Stone. She interprets the Rosetta Stone. I put it into a computer so it can translate what's on the Rosetta Stone after that.
So this is your supercomputer you're going to put together?
Yeah, I mean, sitting right over here on the ground, and I just got to stand it up and turn it on, and we can get going. But we need I bought, just so you're aware, I bought most of Jimmy Blanchett's equipment.
Wow.
And I have everything here except the antennas, and he sent me the antenna recommendation today. And given what we've seen here, we don't need to go anywhere. I can just put these antennas out back, point it up the sky, turn the thing on, and they'll start coming.
Wow.
We think there's a portal right out back because these craft keep coming in and out of the same spot on the sky.
Wow. Wow.
And the one we saw a humongous flash that Linda Thompson has done analysis on, and it was inside the atmosphere because it made a boom.
Yeah.
And she describes how really odd this sound is, that it's not anything she can identify. And we see this, and out of that same area where this flash is, I got in my Cyanix Opsin, this really fancy low light level camera, a clear triangle flew right over our head. It was as clear as day. And I would be showing it to you today, Grant, had I not turned the camera off and to run inside and process it. And I forgot there's a memory buffer inside the camera, and it had not dumped the memory buffer onto the little card, and I lost the video.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I'm really beating myself up over that. But I think if they really want me to see all this, they'll come again.
Unless they wanted that to happen, because you hear that often, like Joe Wood from her husband was Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones tells that story where he sees the object over the ocean there on the Brazilian coast. And then he says, come on, look at this. And he says, I forgot my glasses. And he goes running in the house. And as he goes in the house, that's when the thing starts acting up. And I hear that over and over again, where the one guy, he's a big researcher in Los Angeles. His wife, this thing came and no, his wife's got him already. And he's on top of he has a pool on top of his place. And he's lying by the pool, and she says, oh, I got to get my wine. I forgot my wine. She went down, and these 5 objects came over, and he was in the Navy. 5 objects come over, and he said, that's got it. That can't be planes. And then the one went out of the formation and went back in just to show. And that's the thing. You see this thing where they don't want somebody involved, so they make them go do something, and then this thing takes place. It's like, it's just strange how this like that sort of the playful attitude that they have, and you go along with it, and they cooperate, and I can't see any adverse things that they're doing. They seem to be trying to educate us and raise our vibrations so that we don't blow ourselves up.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, she's given me quite the education on all the paranormal, because anything I want to know about, she can demonstrate it.
Yeah,
and I want everybody to see this. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, it's like you don't need Google. You've got Lala.
And can you see that? Yeah, can you see that painting on the wall? She did that.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah,
it is really beautiful. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
That's the other thing. I've seen some of her the face stuff she does. That's the other pattern, of course, is the right brain thing, the artistic that
very, very right brain.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're the left brain, so it's a balance.
So arithmetic and she are not friends. So she's the right brain, and I'm the left brain, and between both of us, we have one brain.
One brain, and that's what it's almost like this idea that you plan this before you're born. That okay, we're gonna do this, and then when Lala contacts me, I've got to make sure I take that phone call, and it may be all pre-planned, that we're just playing out a role that we plan to do.
That certainly seems to be what our higher conscious told us when we were hypnotized by Deb Shakti.
There you go. Yeah.
I would just like to know what it is. I mean, I'm hard on myself and I want to know right away, but what information am I supposed to be getting from them showing up so much? That's what I want to know.
What is our mission? That's what we want to know. Is it wow? I mean, is it just wow? I don't feel like it's just wow, Grant. I think.
Well, it's building up. Like if you take a look at when I started in 75, I keep telling people it was a completely different world. I mean, there was no such thing. The orb didn't even exist. The word didn't exist. None of this stuff. There was no crop circles. There was nothing. There was no light language. There was no automatic writing. Or there was automatic writing, but there was no light language. And it's like a totally different world with the, when the digital camera came and then these orbs things started to appear, and the beams, and it's just a totally different world than what I. And it's almost like it's like because we're in the West, we want everything and we want it yesterday. Whereas there's an eternity, and it's the process. It's not so much we're going to eventually get to the end, that they're just taking us one step at a time. And when you get to that step, then you realize like, oh, there's another 1,000 questions I didn't know. And every time you get to the higher levels, you realize that it's a more magnificent world than you thought it was. And I think the problem we always make is we figure that we've got all the pieces of the puzzle and we're just waiting for the one last piece to put in there, and we're going to figure it out. And that I don't think that's when they kept telling me, you're an ignorant, arrogant little piece of, they said, SHIT, and do you think you understand everything, and you haven't got a clue. And they told me, in fact, everything you believe, it's exactly the opposite of what you believe, which in many cases turned out to be true. But they kept hammering me. And then at one point, I actually said to them, I said, okay, so you're hammering me about the ego thing. You keep going on about the ego thing. So I said, okay, so what the hell's going on? All I want to know is what the hell's going on. And the voice says, we don't know either. And I went, what do you mean you don't know? And it's almost like they're at their level and they know it's below their level. We don't know either. I said, come on.
The Peter principle in action. They've risen to their level of incompetence.
Yeah.
So I want to tell you my favorite orb picture before I met Lala, and we got our own orbs.
Yeah.
I did this processing for Bledsoe.
Yeah.
And there's this picture where there are hundreds of orbs in it. They're all different colors. So this is not dust. This is not rain. This is orbs of them. They're all different colors.
Yeah.
And then I enhance and I edge sharpen, and right there in the middle of these orbs is a clear alien.
Wow.
As clear as it can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's in my UFO Con 2020 slides, which with Chris's permission, I'll put up for everybody to download.
Yeah. Wow.
But I mean, that alien in the middle of those orbs, it was an eye-opening thing for me.
Wow. It's a fascinating. I'm so glad I met you, and now I met Lala, and you can almost see it in the group, almost like the energy in that orbology group and the people posting stuff. One thing I want to maybe ask you is, like, for people who maybe want to try to take film, you actually talked to Jeff about how he did it. He gave you a little bit of advice, maybe his advice, and then your advice for people who maybe want to start trying to do this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm telling you, Jeff has taught me several things. One of the things he taught me is you've got to get all your bullshit out of the way.
Yeah.
You got to get it all out of the way. You got to be calm, and you want to think about the most loving incident you can ever think about in your life, and try to pull that feeling into you. Pure love feeling, as close as you can come to that love you feel in the presence of the universal consciousness.
Yeah.
He has taught me so much, and that was all it took for him to get all these incredible photographs.
Yeah,
that's all it took, was for him to exhibit pure love. And the people exhibit pure love, and you will get orbs.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what he told me.
I can tell you a funny story. We were at an event, the Metaphysical Tribe event in Illinois, and they'd brought him in to speak. And it's a thing for like people who read tarot cards and psychics and stuff, and they all get together, and this is sort of their group. And they had not really done UFOs, so they did a skywatch. And the skywatch, and I'm sitting at skywatch. I always hate skywatches because, like, I really never see anything. And I always say, like, I had a real close sighting. That's how I got involved. 2 close sightings. And then the people see something really up in the sky and go, you're looking at that. I'm going to bed. Like, I've seen better than that. And anyway, we were at this skywatch, so I'm sitting there and I'm just relaxing, and then the Jimmy had they had the radios there, and the radios started to go off, and I go, holy cow, the radios are going off, and it was pitch dark and the radios were flashing, so I was filming the radios flashing. Otherwise, nothing really happened. I'm lying there, and then one girl came over just after it was over, and she says, look at this photo. And it looked like an alien right beside me, with the girl beside me. And I'm going, you saw that? I was right here. I didn't see anything. And then I started getting interested. And then these other people came, they showed this photograph. And so then, of course, Jeff was there. And I go to Jeff and said, hey, Jeff, what'd you get? Oh, I got lots of stuff. And he started showing me one after another. It was like unbelievable.
So the other thing is, he is an unbelievable example he is the most humble person
Yeah.
I've ever met in this field.
Yeah.
He's helpful, he's humble, he's kind, and he exhibits love, and they show up. I'm just telling you, he's a humble, kind, loving person. I really admire him.
Yeah.
I'm
And he's
so happy we've met him.
yeah, and even though he works for Getty Photos, he has no vested interest in trying to sell them. So he'll, if you say, "Oh, I like your stuff," and he'll give you the OneDrive link to all his photographs, and it's like thousands of photographs. And it's like, "You want my photographs? Here you go." He just, and the stuff he's got, like people who will maybe put a link to his stuff, but his stuff is just like totally wild. And you see other stuff like yours is starting to get that way. It's moving very quickly towards that, where you're going to start really getting this really just spectacular colors, and multiple beam colors, and just fascinating stuff. And so I'm really encouraged that you're on the ball here, and that you may help us figure this out. And I'm actually doing an update with Jimmy Blanchette. If you want to join me and ask the right questions a week Friday, you can join me there, because he's got some new material that he's got coming up.
So long as Jimmy doesn't mind, I'd be happy to join, because I really admire Jimmy. He got all of this from intuition, and I'm coming to it from, he's an engineer, but I came to all this from the scientific side, and he has inspired me to think, he and Lala have inspired me to think, how can I use their abilities to make a technological solution to interacting with the entities.
Yeah.
And Jimmy's halfway between. He is an intuitive, and he's also a technologist, and he's used technology to figure out how to get them to respond. And my favorite instance of him sending a transmission and getting a response is I'm listening to it and I'm going, wow, that sounds exactly like the transmission that Jodie Foster got in contact.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if they're sending us the Encyclopedia Galactica. And I'm just like, I'm so wowed. I can't wait to get going on this stuff, but I just have to slowly. She's impatient. Can we do it yet? Can we do it yet? I went, no, I got to get this piece. I got to get this piece. And I'm ordering the antennas today.
Wow.
And then we turn it on, and she's getting her ham radio license, and she wants to do it. She doesn't want to be a watcher. She wants to be involved.
There you go.
And she will be.
She reminds me of, I don't know if you ever were involved with Rob Freeman. I remember he came to Manitoba to do filming, and he has like whatever 8 cameras or whatever, and they're all filming all the time, and so they're out there for 4 or 5 hours, and then the rest of us all go to bed, and he's sitting there looking through all the film of the cameras, and I go, do you ever sleep? It's like, holy cow, he's up all night with these, looking through all these things, looking for stuff in the photos. And so people have these high energies that, and when you're interested, that's the thing, you can sort of work without as much sleep as other people, because you're just so into it. So I'm just thrilled, and maybe we can do an update on this when you get some more material. And thanks for contributing.
We have the new cameras, and so all of the new cameras, they are already showing great potential. And I'm looking for this killer video from the Science Opsin. I really want that killer video.
Yeah.
So I have one that is a really fast flying orb that goes over. I'll send it to you. Fast flying orb goes about, and it does zigs and goes over the house. It is clearly a craft. And so it shows you the potential of the Opsin, but what I want is that triangle.
Yeah.
I have to keep begging and be humble. Maybe I'll get it.
Yeah. Well, you're moving pretty fast. I mean, because that's what I always said, that people would say, oh, it's just dust. And I say, well, no, if you look at enough material, you absolutely know there's a pattern, that you have the black and white, and then you have the color, and then you have the mist, and then you have the beams. And you guys have gone from one end of the spectrum to the other, like almost immediately. So it would indicate to me that you're getting some help, and you're well on your way to getting some pretty incredible stuff.
So more than one person told me that I have been helped all my life.
Yeah.
And these are people I trust, and I think they are talking to whatever. And they said, you've been helped your whole life.
Yeah.
And it feels like it because of these downloads.
Yeah. And even if we aren't, the idea that we are encourages you to move ahead and to work that way, because our beliefs influence quite a bit of how we deal with life, and whether we setbacks and stuff like that. So, if you have a setback, you just say, oh, that was intended to be, and okay, we're going to learn from that and move on. And
so in my case in particular, it's unusual in the sense that it's this sense. I will get an inspirational download, and it'll be in something that I have zero training for. Zero.
Yeah.
But I will take it and turn it into something.
Yeah.
And so I developed this reputation as a polymath, and it isn't me, it's somebody telling me something from outside.
Yeah. 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 And you've
I
got
mean,
you got a
you have to be humble and honest about it. And so in the end, I said, look, I'm closing in on retirement. And if you're going to give me another download,
yeah,
this time I want to make some money from it so I can retire and do what I want to.
Yeah.
And I founded Federated Wireless and Hawkeye.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, yeah.
On downloads that I told them, don't give me another one unless I can earn money with it. That's the first time in my life I started that kind of company, and both of them are successful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. You've got these huge companies that show that using the system that you're using works. So people can say, I don't believe it, but
if you think Gary Nolan got 11 great patentable ideas and 11 companies without a download, I would like to sell you a bridge in Brooklyn. I bet you $1.
Well, he even says I quoted him. I think it may have been in the book's inspiration. He said, "I don't know how it works, but I know how to make it work." And he said, you go through all the questions and you work on it, and then you put the question beside the bed at night. And he said, either the next morning or the next couple of days, the answer is in my head. That's what Gary Nolan said.
Yeah,
and same with Tyler D says he's got 40 patents, and they all came by this thing where he goes to sleep for 8 hours, and then he gets up, and then he goes back to bed for an hour, and then he gets the glass of water, and he sits in the sun and drinks the water, and then they start talking to him. I mean, people got to learn this works.
Anybody can go look in the patent office, and they will see that the ideas that Federated Wireless founded themselves on and the ideas that Hawkeye founded themselves on, my name is on those patents. And I cannot tell you where those ideas came from.
There you go. Your system works.
Unfortunately, Grant, I need to run. I have to go do an errand. And but we will definitely pick this up because I want the whole world to know her abilities.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lala. Thank you for showing up.
This is wonderful. I had fun. Thank you.
There you go. And we'll do it again soon.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.